Thank you for connecting to GameChat. All right, we got Craig in the channel, so we are recording the first episode of GameChat. Here with me, I have my boys, Peter. We're gonna go by our gamer tags on this one, so I usually call him Bat or Beater, and I have my boy Daniel Mason or Bruthaby. I think
Also known as Benthaby, Benfluby, bunch of different names.
a whole bunch. I think what we do is just we go around the table and we just introduce ourselves, get our names out there, get the people out there. So how about Bat go first? Why don't you just introduce yourself, give us your name, give us your gamer tag. I already kind of talked about that, but give us your gamer tag, and then how about let's do a favorite memory associated with gaming.
All right. Well, my name's Peter. I go by my gamer tag is Bat19969, and I'm just really happy. Yeah, 1999969, and I'm just really happy to be here with Yanni or Achilles, and my boy Daniel Mason or Bethaby, and I'm just glad to be part of this podcast experience. And I guess a favorite gaming memory would be hands down Destiny 1 running through the raids with our old clan.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Let's explain for the people that don't know, because this is a podcast for everyone. What if the people that don't know, what is a raid and what is Destiny?
Oh yeah, of course. Destiny is a game made by Bungie, video game corporation, and in this video game, excuse me, they have created they create an environment, they create a world, and then like you, the player, world. Like a shared world, and you, the player, drop in to this new world, and you collect gear, and you collect new items and weapons with your friends, and it's a whole cooperative experience. And raids, as we call them, are just longer levels, and in those levels you all work as a team to get to the end game, basically.
Yeah, like super complex puzzles. You're doing a bunch of stuff with your team, so you need a lot of team coordination, a lot of talking. There might be a lot of yelling, but yeah, that's a good experience. Good experience. And now, Bethaby, what do you have? Give us your name, give us your gamer tag, and give us a nice memory you have.
My name is Daniel Mason. My PlayStation gamer tag is Bethaby, but has also been known to be called Baby, Bethlubby, Benthlaby, bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite memories is back in the day, there used to be these first-person shooters of the Call of Duty series.
Call of Duty. I think most people are familiar with that.
And there was this particular game called Modern Warfare 2.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite memories from that is just going into lobbies and hearing 12-year-olds insult my mother and say that they were better than me at a video game. It's a good
classic. Were you playing on PlayStation or on Xbox at that point?
Xbox.
Oh, Xbox. Okay, so that explains it a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I can see that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it just ruffled a few feathers. Sorry to all the Xbox fans. But it's a population that's there. And we'll end it there. We're not going to get into it. I don't want to contribute to the console wars. I don't know if you guys want to.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Even though there's a clear winner.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So here's the first question. I didn't really know exactly the right way to go about structuring this for first, gaming podcast. So I was thinking we do just general sort of thing. We talk about gaming's importance. We talk about why we find gaming important, things like that. So it's okay. Here's my first question. This is the question I've got for you guys here. I think it's an important way to start off this first episode, and I just want to go over the impact of gaming. That it has an impact on us, and we could review that in a little bit. But I think just for the beginning, let's review the impact it has on the entertainment medium. Like, why do you think it's become so popular as like an art form? Like for people to create, new worlds and stuff like that.
I'll go first. I think it's become impactful because it's essentially another way of interacting with the audience. Like if you go to a movie or you're watching a TV show, you're just kind of soaking it all in. You're not really like, I mean, sometimes you can be entranced. Like with the Marvel stuff they're doing right now, it's easy to
Yeah.
become like
I think that's a
entrenched
whole
in that.
different thing that we could talk about in a little
Right.
bit.
But with video games, they have a way more creative space to be able to interact with players and make players make certain decisions. So it's definitely more, I would say, engulfing. It has a better job immersing people. And with recent technology like augmented reality and all that, it allows people to basically stretch the boundaries of entertainment.
Yeah. And see, that's another thing too. When we bring up VR, virtual reality, and things like that, new worlds, like
Right.
it's caught on, but I don't think it's caught on like it's not in the mainstream. Like everybody doesn't know about it. I don't think.
No.
So like, where's the cutoff point? Like, why is like gaming, with a controller on the TV? Why is that the classic? Like, why does that work so well?
Well, I'm not that much like educated in the way it started, but if I'm wrong again, I'm sure I'll get corrected. But it started in arcades with places you'd go to hang out with your friends, and you'd take money and you could just see who could beat each other's high scores.
Mm-hmm.
And people were finding ways to port that so that you didn't have to go to the arcade every time. You could just have it in your own home.
Yeah, like an Atari system, you could think of way back.
Right. And then this doesn't have to do with the topic per se, but it eventually shifted from high scores to more about like the journey and whatnot.
Like story.
Yeah, story. But I think it originally started as ways to kind of bring that arcade experience home, so that you never had to go out. And I guess you could say that's where it started. I'm sure that's probably not right, but
what do you think, Pat? Like when you refer back to like that gaming, I think it's a good point you bring up. It's like, the thing is that it's kind of hard to say that you want to miss out on that human experience, because like so much of gaming now is online through party chats and things like that. So you're always talking to people, but like getting back to like the question is a medium of entertainment. Like, why do you think gaming came home and it just like in front of the TV and it became so popular, like consoles and things like that?
Well, I feel like, excuse me, I feel like the reason why gaming has come home, so to speak, rather than you going to the arcade, is because I guess basically gaming is just about like convenience personally, and how things can be a little more convenient than as a kid you asking your mom or dad to drive you to the arcade with your friends and you guys play like Galaga or Pac-Man, or you guys play that all day long until you're out of quarters. But personally, I'm more of a fan of the gaming at home experience because because there's always an alternative. So with those friends you used to go get dropped off at the arcade with, you can instead invite them over and you can play party games. Like I believe on PlayStation there's a game called the Jackbox Party Pack, and it basically has a bunch of like trivia games and board games that you would.
It's like you're playing like a game night.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a game night with friends, and that's always been good because, like you said, it's all about the human interaction. And I guess the reason why gaming has become like so much of an art form is because of those connections you make, and it would kind of make more sense to bring more convenience to the player, because as you buy these games you're investing in the company. It's kind of like you're investing in the company, you're putting in time and effort, they're putting in time and effort, and you pay the 60, 50, $40, you invest down in the company, and then they take that money and put it into another project and so on and so forth. So I guess that's how the chain works.
Yeah, exactly.
So it would just make, personally to me, I love
just like being at home, you pop on a game and you're like, you're just relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially like what do you, like Bathabi, do you like what's your personal thing? Do you feel that going to the arcade is better or the gaming at home experience is better?
When I grew up, the most you'd find were those plug and play consoles, which was something
Okay.
where you just it has classic Atari games in it and all that. And then another thing I grew up with, and my little brother grew up with, was a system that came out around 2010 called the Wii, which I think was really meant to home in on that arcade at home kind of idea.
Yeah. Because of the gimmick. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was a gimmick aspect to it where it was just kind of like, fun just because you could do, like, you could wave your hand and then you could throw a bowling ball or hit a bat.
Right.
Wii Sports.
But also, I remembered you'd always invite people over to play on the Wii and those games.
Exactly.
They were meant to be like party games.
Yeah, and that's kind of what the Nintendo Switch now, like the new console from Nintendo, which has like, it's portable, you can plug it into the TV, you could take out the controllers and give one to a friend. It's trying to like be that sort of arcade away from the arcade thing.
Right.
Well, I feel like the Wii also kind of like, also personally, in my eyes, kind of started something. I don't know if you guys kind of agree with this, but like the touch, or not, excuse me, not the touch sensor, the little like sensor you would wave the Wii remote over, like if you were playing Wii Sports and you were like pretending to throw a bowl or roll a bowling ball, or you were playing, for example, Mario Party, which is another reason for friends to come over and just kind of have fun.
Yeah.
And then we could see now with the Kinect, the PlayStation Move from the PlayStation 3 era. And I guess now with VR, I guess there's always something larger to beat out what happened previously. I don't know if that kind of makes sense. I don't know if
it's like a new thing within gaming. Like, we started off the question with like, what is the entertainment medium? Like in terms of gaming, like what is that? Now, is VR a new thing? Because, arcades and like retro arcade stuff like that are retro now, like I didn't get to experience, like, Bat didn't get to experience like things like retro art, like those arcades where we would go and play the games and, like insert quarters and play a game. But now you have a new medium in VR and artificial reality, things like that are hoping to make a new gaming experience where you're physically in there. Is that like do you think that can catch on?
Well, I think
VR?
it can definitely catch on.
Yeah, VR. Yeah.
I think it can definitely catch on because
it's also sorry to interrupt you, Bat, but like when the gaming console came like to the house, it was expensive too. I'm not sure exact prices, but it was expensive.
Oh yeah.
Now VR is expensive. Like, you have to get, like, let's say PSVR or PlayStation VR. For those of you who don't know, PlayStation Virtual Reality, they have their own like headset. So, but to get that, you need a PlayStation, which, I mean, now you could probably find for pretty cheap, but it's at least $300
Right.
Then you need the VR headset on top of that, and I'm not sure exactly. When it first came out, I think it was like $400 or $500, right? Now
it was very expensive.
Yeah, it was really expensive.
Yeah. So like now you're probably looking at, of an investment like maybe $400 or $500 if you count in games like and stuff that you want to play. Is that a worthy investment for the type of medium that it is? I mean, I completely, opinionated to the, it's subjective.
Right. VR is a really new field because now they're taking, like, there's headsets you can buy where you can connect your phone into it, and
oh yeah, like the Google ones.
And
Google
the people are using, and it's kind of going off topic from gaming, but people are using VR for much more than gaming now. Like my brother, where he works, he was given a headset for free, and it just basically is like a TV. It has YouTube, Netflix, and and like when you're watching it, you're like sitting on a couch in the view, like that's what you see.
Is that for work? Like,
yeah, it's not for work. Like he uses his computer obviously to work, but when he's relaxing, if he wants to watch TV or Netflix or something, he could do it through that headset.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting thing too. Like, can VR? I mean, sure, it can change gaming because you're playing something in the
Right.
game. Can it change like the way you watch Netflix or something like that?
Right.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then the other
Because
big thing
Netflix
was
itself too is changing. Like, especially, sorry, but I didn't mean to cut you off, but like, because there isn't like, you could buy like those $400-$500 $400-$500 headsets, but there's also like Google Cardboard, which is literally something you stick like a Google phone into, and it's literally a piece
Yeah,
of cardboard. It's also VR, so it doesn't have
yeah,
to be something so large. It could just be something so simple, and yet it
that's
still
what I
makes a
was,
large impact on technology.
that's what I was saying earlier. You have these headsets where you can literally just plug your phone into it, and it's your own personal VR station right there. And then the other
yeah.
thing along with VR, as I mentioned earlier, is augmented reality, which is making it to where you interacting with the environment around you affects what's happening through what you see.
Yeah. So it's like an overlay of your own reality.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'll make a comparison to Ready Player One here,
Mhm.
because in that they heat like the main character and everybody has like a treadmill that they're
Oh
using,
yeah, yeah.
and that augments where they go and where they move, and that's kind of what the concept of augmented reality is.
hmm
And you interacting with your personal environment makes an impact on the environment you're seeing through virtual reality.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say, what if you just compare the two? Like, you compare VR, virtual reality, to AR, or artificial reality, and like, what do you think? Which one of those two can catch on faster? What's your opinion on that?
I think VR is definitely caught on faster because, like I said, you can even use it now to watch shows
Yeah.
and all that. And VR, I think, is easier to work on right now because augmented reality, I don't think, is as deep of a field as virtual reality is right now.
That's
Because
true. Yeah.
virtual reality is easy; you're just pretty much projecting stuff on a screen.
Yeah, that's why technology always fascinates me, because it's
Yeah.
always changing, like no matter what. It started from those arcades we went to, and then it goes to the take at home system, and then all these consoles keep developing, and then now, for example, like a little off topic, was the Google was Google Maps. You can see yourself walking on the
Yeah.
street view. Like there's always something, like I said, there's always something bigger ready to be produced to improve on what was already made. So I don't know, what do you guys think about that?
I mean, that's true. There's really no arguing that one. It's just like, to the point. If we go back to the first, like the original question that we had at the beginning, the
Right.
the
Go back to the
the
question.
gaming medium, where you make art, or like game developers are making art. Why has that itself become popular? Like,
Mhm.
you just forget about everything else. Like, there's VR, everything. If you just focus on the games, why are games so popular?
That, I think, became popular in itself because, like we mentioned earlier, it became more about the journey rather than just beating high scores and stuff. And part of the journey means that you get to make choices and stuff. And video games, using virtual reality and stuff, are finding more ways to really
Yeah.
interact with the player and really allow them to make more choices. And I think games are popular because instead of like a movie, you're the one in control and
Exactly, and
you're
that's
the
also
one
translating to TV as
that
well,
gets
on
to
Netflix.
experience all of this.
The Black Mirror Bandersnatch, the series where you,
Yeah.
rather than like the Baby was saying, the movie where you sit down, you're watching it, and the script's already made. It's already point A to point B. It's already point A to point B. It's already like set in stone.
hmm
But now that we see with like Black Mirror Bandersnatch and the new series as well, with you helping Bear Grylls escape the wild, um, it's giving that person a little more freedom because you paid for the service. You're, like I said, you're investing in the company. It's always good to get a lot more back for how much money you're putting in, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And then, in terms of the games too, like, you just go back to that. I know we keep getting off topic, but it's good conversation, I think, to have, like, because you're always connecting the gaming medium to other mediums. Of course, you're always comparing it to movies and TV and things like that. But in terms of interactive storytelling,
Mhm.
how interactive does it have to be? Because there are games where it's really, you're pushing two buttons, and you're having, it's a
Very
linear, exactly,
linear.
it's a linear game. So why why have those kinds of games become popular? Is it just because you're watching the story unfold?
And I think it's because you're in
Because you're in
control
control, yeah.
as opposed to
Like,
like,
even though it's so little control,
right.
because you're watching like
Yeah.
you're pressing A and B or X and Y or whatever, but you're
Mhm.
just like that little control helps you. It makes some sort of different experience because you're not very far off from just watching a movie.
Yeah.
Of course.
I think that control is what really made it
Yeah.
catch on. Because video games, I feel like, in terms of entertainment, are a way just to kind of relieve
Mhm.
yourself, in a sense. And I think having that kind of control adds to that
Yeah.
element of relief.
Oh yeah, of course. Especially since those games help you take control and they help you, build this world that basically you've created with your choices. It's like if you come home, I'm pretty sure everyone has experienced this, where you come home after a long day, you're so down and out, and then you can just turn on your gaming console,
Yeah.
regardless if it's a PlayStation, an
Whatever.
Xbox, or a personal computer,
Right.
and whatever's your preference, even the Nintendo Switch,
Yeah.
and you can,
Or a cell phone, a
or a
smartphone.
cell phone, of course, and you can just play to your heart's content, and no one's gonna stop you because these games give you that autonomy and because they give you that freedom to maneuver at your will. For example,
Yeah.
the Telltale, a very development company who unfortunately is no longer around. They
Yeah.
created
Sadly.
sadly they made some of the best series to date. For example, The Walking Dead, and the story goes around what you've chosen.
So like when you're going about playing these games, say like The Walking Dead, it's actually modeled after the show, but it's different characters. When you play the game, you're making choices. You're picking dialogue choices for what your character wants to say to the others,
And in those
and by
games,
picking those choices,
sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, with those choices, there's like every single choice matters, and there's several thousand different outcomes you can get when you're playing these choices.
Yeah, and that's like when we go back to those interactive movies, it's just you're changing the experience to whatever you want it to be.
Right.
And then
Of course.
I think that's why open world games, where if you guys want, we could explain what open world games are. That's why those have become so popular.
Yeah, and open world games are pretty much just it's fair. Anything's fair game. It's pretty much a world where you have a lot of freedom to do whatever you want, and in the gaming market, it's called a sandbox. And what a sandbox is essentially how much is limited to the player and how much the player has immediate access to. And in open world games, that sandbox has like no limits essentially. So
Yeah.
you can make as many
It's
choices
just-
as you want. And
Exactly. It's a huge map where you can go,
Exactly.
up to a limit, of course, but you can go wherever you want. They have different characters with different storylines that you can go visit. You don't have to visit those characters, and you can kind of cater to the experience to whatever you want it to be.
Of course, especially you obviously have to finish the little training section of each games before they let you loose.
yeah,
As well.
The tutorial sections.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of
But
course.
that's good because you get a sense of how obviously you jump. If you're playing like a shooter game, how to aim and shoot, how to do this, how to do that, how to run back and forth. And then after that, they basically they push you out into the open world and they say, have as much fun as you can for your $60.
Exactly, yeah. Just like, the beginning's just your training wheels. You're like, okay, this is how you play the game, this is how you move your character, and now go and have your own
Take 'em off.
experience.
And they let it ride.
And then you just let it rip, and you go and you have your own experience.
yeah.
with the
They
game.
give you the keys, and then you kind of just do whatever you want. That's pretty much
Exactly.
what those open world sandboxes
Give you the keys to the castle.
And then it could change because there are some characters that have abilities, super fun things that you can change your experience as you go once you learn those fundamentals.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot like catering to the just the freedom of life in general, like reflecting that in the gaming medium, because you can't really ever have that in movies
Yeah.
or in TV. You can't have that much of an influence over the characters that are going and doing whatever they're doing in their own world. And I think if we relate that back to, let's say, movies or games that have been translated to movies, say the most recent that I can think of is Tomb Raider
Mm-hmm.
or Warcraft.
Yeah.
Is that why they just haven't succeeded?
Yeah, the reason those haven't succeeded, I think, is definitely because what made those games successful in the first place, like we said, is
Mhm.
the idea of control. Is that
Yeah.
you personally are experiencing it because you're the one who's making all the decisions and your actions impact the outcome. Whereas watching it, it's not really the same because you're not really there in a sense.
And even though that experience, like say that original Tomb Raider game that came out, I don't even know how long ago.
Yeah.
That was just a linear game, so you're like the experience wasn't like an open world where you can do whatever you want. The story was catered to you.
Yeah.
So even that little flexibility that you have as a person controlling the character in the game, even that little thing gives you some ownership over the character.
Oh yeah, of course. That's why like Lara Croft, the main character of Tomb Raider, is so beloved.
Here we go. Like let's go to another question that I had that I think it's related to a lot of the things that we've talked about, and relating games. And I think this is it's a cool topic to focus on the first episode, relating gaming to everything else, all the other entertainment that we have out there, because there is a plethora of entertainment out there. So the geek culture, let's use that word. So the geek culture. So you think gaming, things like that, comic books, superheroes, those kinds of stories, very epic in scale, things like that. So don't you think, isn't that amazing how it's nowadays it's dominating the landscape of entertainment?
Right.
We were going to talk about
Yeah, of course.
a movie like Avengers Endgame that is coming out very soon. I'm not sure how soon by the time this episode airs, but it's coming out soon, or it's set to come out, and it's also set to be the biggest movie.
It's predicted to break all kinds of opening week records.
Yeah.
Of course, even before the movie's out, it's already broken ticket sale records internationally.
Yeah, I mean, it crashed the AMC website. It crashed.
Of course.
Crashed
my phone.
It was a Fandango. It was like Adam tickets that said, "Oh yeah, we sold 6 times the amount of even the last Avengers movie that came out a year ago."
Oh yeah, yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy that it's so dominated by the quote unquote geek culture that movies like Endgame and Infinity War, and then even over to the other universe, DC, how they can just
I knew you were gonna bring it in.
Well, yeah. I mean, we got to look at both viewpoints. I'm just saying that, even those superhero movies, like the geek culture,
yeah, exactly.
How you see those beloved characters you've read in a comic book or you've seen in the animated series on TV, like on the Saturday night, like Saturday cartoons, for example, like Batman, how you see him jumping around doing his thing, and then you see those personal memories come out onto the big screen and you see actual actors playing out those roles.
Yeah,
and that's
but see
the
fun thing for us, right, is because we're geeks, we love all that stuff. We love Star Wars stuff like that, the classic geeky stuff, but that's not the mainstream. Like, all the geeks in the world can't, raise, what was Avengers Infinity War, the last one that came out, to $2 billion or more at the box office. This movie is expected to make $300,000 domestically in its first 3 days, its first weekend.
Oh, yeah.
So why, like, when you're going to the cinema to watch this,
like, what drives you?
Yeah, what drives you? I mean, you as the geeks, that love the comic books, Marvel Comics, DC Comics, all those kinds of things, those stories, you understand what drives them.
Right.
What drives everybody else to go and see this movie? Because in the end of it, it's just superheroes fighting villains, right?
Yeah. Well,
what do you say? Like,
I feel like the main point is, personally for me, is seeing those influential figures like Batman, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Captain America, like all those popular heroes jump out of the pages of the comics or jump out of the TV and land on the big screen with Chris Evans as Captain America or Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. Like seeing all these actors pay an excellent role to the heroes that we've supported and loved throughout this entire time. Yeah, paying homage, or especially, and another reason, personally, I think you see, even with these, like I said, all these actors coming to life.
Yeah.
But the reason
it's like a connected world, I think, is what you're trying to get at.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah, and seeing like the cinematic universes, like how one movie's gonna lead to another, and how like after the movie, how they sneak in like those credit scenes to kind of like tease the next movie. How it's all kind of like a domino effect, if that makes sense. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
I think this cool thing you brought up there, and I want Bethaby, if you could comment on this. Here, like storytelling now. How you said,
Right.
Bat, with the more interactiveness of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because Chris Evans isn't just playing Captain America and saying bye bye. He's in there. He's been Captain America for 10 years now.
Mhm.
Is that reflected? It is reflected in gaming, but does the movie medium reflect the gaming medium by having that character be so intertwined in the story and integral? Is it interactive in a way?
Maybe, maybe. Um,
Like, is that why it's so popular? Like, there has to be a reason.
uh, I I don't really.
Because like now, what people are craving is long-standing franchise
Uh-huh.
storytelling. Even the other day, when this is being recorded, of course, Game of Thrones came out, and it's just like it blew up. It blows up the entire world into like a frenzy. And Game of Thrones is a series now that's been on for 9 years. I think they missed a couple years, but it has this is eighth season.
Right.
It has 67 episodes, more like 70 hours worth of storytelling up to this
I
point.
think it's
Why are people
I
so
think it's
invested in it?
mainly because of character writing. If you write characters that you can relate to and have emotion, then
Hmm.
people will tend to grip on them. And I did a presentation on this in college about uh, movie characters and how they've changed over decades.
Yeah.
It's because as you write more sympathetic characters, people will tend to grow
Hmm.
attached to them more. Like in
Yeah.
TV shows and movies and whatnot. Like especially with the
And
case with Infinity War, people think Thanos is a good villain because you sympathize for him and you understand that okay, he's maybe not a good guy, but you respect his
he has,
drive and his will to make everything better.
yeah, like he has something that he stands on. Like he has like, if they're skewed morals, they're morals that he
Right.
has, and you
Oh,
could
yeah.
kind of, I guess, I don't know, you could agree with him at some point to some extent with what he's trying to do. He's trying to help people.
Right.
He's a very messed up way of doing that, but he's trying to help people. So like, let's get it back to gaming, and I think the classic, or it's a very good example of this, is something like Red Dead Redemption 2
Uh-huh.
that came out, or Red Dead Redemption the original, like 70 hours worth of storytelling. And I touched on this in episode 3 of the logs, where we talked about gaming 70 hours. You need to invest a lot. What is that? 3-4 days of storytelling,
Yeah.
depending on how much you play, like solid days.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why do people get so invested in these characters? Does it just go back to like just
I think it's
experiencing
just
through
I
that
think
life,
it's just the way they're written. Because
Oh yeah,
the way they're
definitely.
written?
if they're written in a way that makes you feel, and it's because when you're playing this game, you're spending so much time with them. So obviously you're
Yeah,
gonna gain some sort of relationship neurologically with them, regardless of whether you thought they were a good character or not.
And then when they
yeah,
hit you with a curveball, like in the middle at the end of the story, and like something happens, you feel that because like you were talking about like the 70, 80 hours you've spent with this character, and then like all
yeah.
those feelings you've had for the character, they're still there, they're still with you. Like for example, like I
Yeah.
guess I'm kind of like bringing up superheroes a lot, but for like the Batman games when they're on
Hmm.
PlayStation, the tagline is "Be the Batman." So
Yeah.
when you're spending like the 30, 40 hours for like the normal like story and like kind of like the side stuff. I could be completely
Hmm.
wrong on those times too, but
That's
when
all good.
it's you feel invested like every second of the story, collecting those Riddler trophies, which are the collectibles to unlock better upgrades. Like doing all the side investigations. You personally, I for me at least, you feel you feel like Bruce Wayne. You feel like Batman in every single mission, side mission, every fight. Even like the little radio on your, even the little radio on your little on the screen where it points you in the direction. Like you feel like you have the mask on yourself going into this
Yeah,
game.
and especially you're a big Batman fan too, so that also helps in
Exactly.
the getting
Oh yeah, it's
immersed
even
into it.
better.
Because I mean, but even a tagline like "Be the Batman," like I think anybody that hears that, it's like, yeah, I'd love to be Batman.
I'm done.
I'm down, yeah, to be Batman. And And it says in the thing too, it says be the Batman. It's not saying, there are some games that say do whatever you want, but this game is offering an experience like you are going to be Batman in this game.
Exactly. And even those fans who have like even read the comics, they'll point out like little things they'll find, like if the villain's origins is pulled from like another universe of the comics, they'll recognize that immediately and they'll type about it on the website.
Yeah.
So it's just all, I mean, like, Bathabi, what do you think about it?
It's like interconnected.
Right. I think you pretty much nailed it all right there. I don't really
yeah. I mean, it's the main thing about it, I think, is just like some sort of human connection, whether it's a digital character that you're controlling with a controller and you see him on the TV, or whether it's actually like, your friend, like we said a while back, with arcades, whether you're going and playing with them, it's how you connect to things as a human. Humans have the ability to connect to a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think really digital characters are out of the question. If they can, humans are in love with, their cars, they love their pets and things like that. And sometimes there's just not a clear connection back. Like, the car is just sitting there and humans say, yeah, that's, I love that. They name it. So it's not that hard to say when there's a character on the screen that's behaving very much like a human that you're controlling and that's because of you is experiencing things. It's not that hard to think that, or to even to claim that, you're in love with that character because of those reasons.
Exactly. 100%. I totally
think
agree.
It's just basic human psychology that you grow attached to people. You grow attached to anything that you spend an extended period of time with, regardless of whether it's a positive or negative relationship or affiliation. And that's one of the main things, I think. It's because, like with the movies again, for instance, like with Marvel, we've seen Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man from the beginning, and we've been through every single event in his life in the movies. So obviously there's going to be some connection because we've been there since the beginning.
And here's a side question for that. That's a good thing that you brought up, because we've been through like all these experiences with Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man or Tony Stark since the beginning, since 2008 when it came out. Now, what if we think, let's say 20 or 30 years down the road, where these movies are just available, the Marvel series pack, whatever it is, and you can just watch them back to back to back. Is that like, is the experience gone there, or like of waiting? Now, we're waiting for Avengers Endgame. It's going to be the movie of the the century.
Yeah.
Is some of the experience lost by just not having that time?
Okay, I was having this discussion the other day, and I know we're talking about movies right now, but the difference, I think, is the kind of purpose Marvel movies have come to serve. Because when, like, we're looking at, like, we had just got done seeing Shazam, and we were talking about what makes a good superhero movie necessarily.
Yeah.
And when we were talking about,
by the way,
great movie. And when we were talking about Marvel, we kind of referred to it as like any other series you'd watch, where every movie is just another episode in that series.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's obviously going to be different reactions for people who have to wait to see this versus people that just have everything on demand automatically.
Oh, I see what you're trying to do. Like, you're relating, like, now, let's say Game of Thrones comes out once a week, but Netflix will drop a whole series for you.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And in terms of those Marvel movies, like, we're waiting for Avengers Endgame right now, but then people will have that in the future. So obviously our experience will be different because we've been waiting for it, and there's a lot of hype built around that. But necessarily that experience isn't gone for. It's not as impactful, I'd say, to people who have the full set, but it's still definitely there because, like, all the movies are kind of like episodes in like a long series.
Exactly. Well, yeah, especially because sorry, I couldn't cut you off, but especially because, like, we're talking about emotions you've been invested in these characters, especially with like Infinity War, how the big bombshell dropped, how half the population was killed off, including some of the Avengers and all these characters that we've been through since the beginning, just to see them like dissolve into dust and just die. And there's a lot of emotions that
Yeah.
come out of that. There's a lot of sadness. Like, for example, the Peter Parker Spider-Man or
Yeah.
Tom Holland, when he obviously one of the most memorable scenes from the movie is when he's hugging Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark, and he's saying, "I don't want to go, I don't want to go," and he starts crying. People who are so invested in Spider-Man are so invested in that character just to see him, and he passes away and he dusts away. That puts a lot of emotion, and then especially because in a superhero movie, at the end the superhero wins. The day is saved.
That's what you
The
expect.
princess is saved from the castle. It's basically like black and white. And then just to see like at the end of Infinity War, seeing like quote unquote the villain, or however you portray Thanos.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say he's a pretty good villain.
It's just to be
He killed
continued.
half the population of the universe.
Yeah.
And then again, we
and
say
just
he's
to
a
see
good
him
villain because of the way his character is written.
That's true.
Yeah, how it's, like,
I didn't
wrapped
even
around.
catch that. Yeah, that's a good catch.
It's a good point.
Yeah, and it goes back to like the just the character, and I think even though we're getting off base with referring to movies and referring to games and things like that, I think
Well, it is a form of entertainment.
it goes back to the character. Yeah,
like what makes a good character.
Exactly, yeah. Because now in gaming, we said like there's the open world games where you could spend a lot of time just combing through this whole world and exploring this whole world. And then there's also
making your character.
Yeah, you could even make your character, make the character look like you, make the character like maybe what you want to look like, or some sort of weird funny thing. Or you could just like go back to like something like Red Dead where you're playing a cowboy and you're playing his story. Like,
and it all revolves around back to choice too.
Yeah.
Because it's like in real life, you just make one choice and then that's kind of it. But people, I think personally, obviously I can't be inside everyone's head, so I don't know. But I think, or can I? Stay tuned.
Stay tuned to the next episode.
Stay tuned. The reason why is because you can make a choice in a video game. You can save your progress before that choice, and then let's say you didn't like it, you can revert back to that old version of the game, and then you can make that other choice. That's way better. And people can't really there's no save button and load game in real life. So they can kind of like peek behind door number 1, and if they don't like it, they can just close it and go for the other prize in door number 2.
Exactly. Yeah. You're just trying to experience new things and see what one action will, impact the other action or some sort of scenario.
Exactly. Or even in the PlayStation 3 series, I'm pretty sure we're familiar with it, but just for the viewers, the Infamous series.
Oh yeah.
Where you were a character with powers, and you could either have good karma or bad karma, and whether you had good or bad karma influenced the environment around you. For example, if you were evil, the city would look more red and dark, and people would be falling on the ground. But if you had good karma, the city, everyone would be walking around like really healthy, and everything would be all right in the world.
Yeah.
Have you guys played Infamous? Are you guys familiar with the series?
No, I haven't played like the first. I think it was 2, right, on the original PS3.
First 2.
Yeah, first 2. I played the one that started with the PlayStation 4, the Infamous Second Son, which had a cool story. And that goes back to like a lot of the things too, because that game you're playing with a character. It's an open world game, Infamous Second Son. I'm not sure if the other 2 are.
Yes, they are, but they
not
are
nearly
but it's a little
as open world.
It's a little more confined. They confine you to like a small little like suburb.
Yeah, so I mean, the newer game on the PlayStation 4, it's more updated and things like that, so it has a larger space that you can play.
Oh yeah, of course.
But in those games, in the Second Son, the one that I was playing, you're spending a lot of time with that character, and you're making choices for him. Like you can go around being very like a maniac and earn your bad karma, or you could be the savior of the city and earn your good karma. And you could experience both those things. Like you could be the superhero or you can be the supervillain. Kind of like how we're talking about in like movies and stuff like that, like a Thanos character.
Exactly. It's all connected.
Yeah. Exactly. Because it's characters, bottom line. It's characters. But the thing is, the only difference really between something like looking at, the villain Thanos and looking at the villain, you in Infamous, is that interactivity that you get with games.
Of course.
So is there anything different between watching, Thanos snap and, dissolving half the universe versus like you going around the city tormenting people?
I guess it just comes down to like what you're saying, like how this character like interacts with the world around them. Like, Bathavi, what do you think about that? Because I'm not too sure.
Can you repeat it again?
No, it's all good. It's like I'm thinking if you just relate the two things, like let's say we'll just take Infamous Second Son, or the Infamous series as an example, where you can be bad, right? You can be bad and earn
Yeah.
your bad karma, and then the city feels, it reacts to those bad choices that you make. So if you take that as our gaming example, and then as our movie example, of another, just an example of another medium, you take Thanos and how he snaps and he destroys the universe. What's the difference? The only difference is interactivity, right? Because you're doing it in the game.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So what does that
But
change?
then-
What does that change to the experience? Why do you think that is? Like, why do you get so attached to? I forget the character's name, but why do you get so attached to the character?
Delson?
Yeah, Nelson. Yeah,
Delson
yeah.
or Cole? Delson.
Oh, Delson. Okay, yeah. Sorry.
Well, I feel like. Well, I kind of have like a rebuttal question,
Yeah.
if that's all
Oh,
right.
yeah.
For example, like would the choices you make in the game kind of like define like who you are and like your morals and what you kind of stand for, if that makes sense?
Like as a person, like with it.
Yeah. Like if you it kind of seems like kind of like a far reach.
I don't really think so, because again, with games, you're given a lot of freedom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of feel like it's kind of a reach, but I wanted to like throw it out to you two and also the viewers and kind of see like what we kind of all think as like a community.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hard because you can go crazy mode in a game, and you're just like completely normal person. You're just experiencing that crazy mode sort of thing. Is that like? Does that? I mean, that you're dipping into the psychology there. If you're saying like that dips to some into some sort of unconscious sort of thing,
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, it's always been kind of like a long time question of mine. Like, let's say like you do like a wrong choice in a video game, or you do these evil things. Like for example, Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
You can just like kidnap people, like random people off like the street,
or GTA.
Tie them up
I
to,
mean,
like, train
that's a
tracks.
classic example.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Or GTA, and like you can literally just like walk down the street and like destroy like a whole street block, or even like Red Dead where you were talking about, where you can literally kidnap someone off the street, time to train tracks, and just watch it, like let it ride.
Yeah,
like, it's just so it's kind of just.
I mean,
like
the game lets you do that, so I mean,
well, the game totally lets you do it too. It's not like the second it happens, the game's like, hold on, like
it doesn't stop you. I mean, it gives you those mechanics so you can do that and torment people as the player.
Some will also give you like trophies and achievements like worth like for like quote unquote.
And
your
I think
troubles.
Red Dead also has like some sort of morality system with it too. If you're bad,
I'm not sure. I haven't played Red Dead 2.
Oh, okay, but I think it does. I think it has like some sort of like you're a good you're a savior to the people, or you're a bad.
A lot of games have done that too.
Yeah.
Like even in Metal Gear Solid 5, the Phantom Pain. In the beginning of the game, you have a little spike coming out of your head.
Yeah.
And the more evil things you do, the more that little thing comes out. Yeah, it's coming out of your head, and because in the beginning of the game,
like a unicorn
life-threatening injury. Yeah, it's kind of like out of the side of your head.
Oh, okay.
And the more evil things you do, the more it kind of like sticks out of your head. And when it's like all the way out, then you've become like evil Snake, and then everyone sees you as like this monster, and the environment changes around you.
Yeah. And
so it just fascinates me how developers do this, and also like
the
we buy it and then we play it. Exactly.
Yeah,
100%. Like how the community's like, oh, I did this, and then someone else will have a completely different thing, and then that third person will have a completely different thing.
Yeah. So, but what do you think about that? Like that sort of interactivity that comes in and out of games, where you'll do something fun and then you'll tell somebody about it, and then it's just like a chain reaction of, look at what I did, or check this out.
I think the best comparison to make to that would be Detroit Become Human.
Of course, 100%.
That's a game with, I'm pretty sure, literally limitless possibilities for choices
or endings.
They even show you the web.
Or endings.
They even show you the web after the chapter, seeing what you did.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of other like locked decisions around it, like, oh, what if you didn't take the bus stop, or what if you didn't do this, or what if you did this differently, what if you took this weapon?
Yeah.
So
explain the game too, if you can, Bathavior or Bat. If you can explain like what actually Detroit Become Human is, because that's a really cool topic we could even touch on if you want just a little bit here about androids in the future.
It's essentially just choose your own adventure, the game, but with literally thousands of choices.
Oh, I mean, I'm
Like,
saying
I'm
more
pretty
the
sure
story.
that-
The story.
Oh, I'm not too experienced on the story. I just
okay.
know
Well,
that.
do you want me to take the mental on this one?
Let's flip it over to Bat over
So
there.
basically, Detroit Become Human is, as Bathabi stated, a choose your own adventure type of game where basically the graphics are perfectly done, where you feel like you're playing through an interactive movie, and that's personally what grabbed me immediately was the graphics and
Like the
how
transitions
everything
between,
works.
like
The transitions,
like you'll choose something and then not like the game won't just like stutter and says, oh, you made choice 2, gotta revert the game, and then it'll just do
or
it.
even like the game, or even if it's like huge decisions, like the game will the game will increase like the timer or even cut out the timer in general to help you make those decisions. And even between, and the amazing thing is you play as 3 different people throughout this long campaign. So that's 3, or excuse me, 3 androids. And you take, and it's amazing because you have one person's story, and then you have a second person's story, and you have a third person's story. That's 3 characters that you can manipulate the way they play. And you can also, and they could also, if they die, they can't come back. There's no like respawn system. They can't come back. So if they're done, that's it. Unless you revert to an old checkpoint, as we were talking about, an old version of the game, an old save. Then there's a way to get them back. But it's just so much fun to see you controlling these characters and how the world is influenced by your choices, and just to see like what kind of hijinks you can get into, and what kind of like how much trouble you can cause on just like a night out on the town, for example. So that's personally something really fun for me.
It is fun, and it's cool. It's a cool experience too because I think when you're touching on the story here, I think like that's what I really enjoyed about Detroit. It shows like a different world where androids are kind of like a new, like they're just like a servant basically to the human population, and it's focusing mainly on, it has a lot of symbolism to modern day, where it's showing these
of course
androids that are being subjected by the human population, and it shows their rise to freedom. And it's a cool story, and it's an interactive story, so you get to choose, like, do I want to be the revolutionary android that destroys everything and takes revenge on the humans because they wronged me so much, or do I want to be the android that says, look, we're one and the same, and we could experience the human experience together because we have very similar experiences.
Oh yeah, it's just like I said, it's just incredible just to see how well these characters have been worked on, and how well you can, like I said, like we've been talking about, just how you can change the game. It's just that simple.
Yeah, you could.
What do you think, Bathabi? What do you think on Detroit and the choices you can make?
Like the interactivity.
Yeah, the interactivity of it. Yes.
I mean, pretty much nailed it. It's just the most freedom I've seen from a modern game. Give you, I think. Yeah, and I think that's what attributed to its success.
And I think that's really why you can attribute just gaming's overall success to that interactivity, and to just people inhabiting characters that they enjoy. And they'll go to conventions and they'll cosplay as them, they'll dress up as the character, and very alike to movies and things like that. They'll they love these characters because they spend so much time and they've controlled them and they've brought them through experiences and things like that.
100%.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. Sorry,
I also think kind of like no, it's okay. I just think kind of like, I don't know if like you guys might agree with me with this, but I kind of think of gaming personally for me, it's kind of like an escape. It's an escape into creativity.
Yeah.
It's an escape into creativity.
It is.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because think about it, like if you're having like a hard day, like from school or work or from anything, and you just come home and you load up, like for example, like the Call of Duty series. Like you just load up and play a couple of games of Call of Duty with some friends who are online, or you play, for example, one of the new battle royale games, Apex Legends. You just get on that and you play with 2 of your closest friends. It's just how you play the game with friends. It's just how you make those connections and how you escape from your kind of like 9 to 5 job, like your little cube,
Exactly.
your little
Your bubble,
workspace, your
like
little bubble, your workspace, and you kind of think outside the box and you jump out of it and you play these games with your friends. And even for the developers too who make these amazing games, like their creativity is skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And you're playing with friends, the friends don't have to be near you. They don't have to be sitting on the couch.
No.
You're playing with your friends all across the world.
Yeah, different state, different continent, you name it.
Yeah. And the fun thing there is that they are friends. You're playing, you have them in your ear, you're experiencing these things. And I think I touched it on that episode of the podcast where I was talking about the experience that you're having with that person in the game. So let's say, Bathabi and I are playing some sort of open world game and we see some, crazy thing happening. Like that's our experience right there. We shared that. And like, isn't that what friendship is all about, right? Sharing experiences?
Of course. Sharing the experiences and the memories, because you could just, and especially like you were saying, how they're in your ear, and you could just talk about it the next day too. It's like, oh, hey, remember when we just completely destroyed an enemy team? Or do you remember when we ran around in that open world we solved a puzzle, or we ran around in that open world for 2 hours just discussing our days? It's just, gaming is just really personally bringing people together and kind of like keeping and making a community around people who share kind of like the same ideas, and that's what makes it important.
And I think that's what it's captured, at least now, with a lot of online gaming, and just having your friends list there and ready, integrating that friends list into the game. And that's what gaming has cornered the market on, because there's something special about actually experiencing an experience that you guys are crafting. Like, you and your friends are crafting together, versus like, sure, the movie experience, like sitting down next to your friend or your family at a movie theater is awesome. But there's also something that's, if not, it's original. It's original that just can't be captured by that cinema.
Because you're not necessarily just buying a game. You're not necessarily just buying a game, putting that $60 down, and investing. You're buying an experience. You're buying memories.
Yeah,
and that's what makes it. That's
way to put it.
And you're buying these experiences. They're selling you experiences. They're selling you memories, and that's what makes it the most important. Like even in the beginning of the episode, when I described doing those raids, those large complex levels where we have to solve puzzles for hours and hours on end just to make it to the end, through all the blood, sweat, and tears to get to the end. Like that's the reward, because you did it with people that you play with daily. Like, what do you think about that, Bathabi? What's your idea on it?
Again, I think you pretty much nailed it.
You're nailing it today. You got
it's all about.
I'm en fuego.
I think it's all about building relationships too.
Yeah, and that's what that's like. Bottom line, I think that's what gaming has captured.
Exactly.
So,
right.
I think
not just positive relationships too, because now gaming has kind of shifted towards a competitive aspect as well.
Of course,
that's also true. That we never touched on that. Like esports.
The topic for another day.
That it could be a concept for another day, but what esports is, just so we can explain it here, is basically competitive gaming where professional gamers go and they play games against each other, and they have large prize pools and things like that. They have their teams. There's a game, Overwatch, that has a league, and it has teams from a bunch of different cities all around the world. And that's also just that's like brand. It's not really brand new, is it? I think it's been going on for a while in terms like
the league has been going on for a while.
But I mean competitive also too, in the sense that more battle royale games are coming out.
Oh, and okay, yeah, in that way too, yeah.
The sole purpose of those games, I think, is just strictly to be competitive. You're trying to win.
And just so we can explain the battle royale game, you want to explain that, what it is?
It's essentially just a free for all. A bunch of people land in this certain area, they grab whatever they can and try to survive to the top.
Yeah. So you just go in and you just kind of you're scavenging for materials, and you're trying to make it be the last one standing. It's like a 1 versus 100, or your team versus the other teams.
Right.
And that's also another fun thing too. I mean, that's an experience in and of itself. If we're focusing this episode these ideas on experience and interactivity of the game. But I think what we can do now is take a little break and then come back and explore some gaming news. It was a light week for news, but we have some stories that we can cover.
Of course.
So let's take this little break and then come back. All right, we're back here, and we're just going to cover a little bit of gaming news here this week. First piece of news here, it's a light week on news, but we're looking at the PlayStation 5. And I don't know if you've all have heard about the PlayStation 5. You know, it's coming and it's expected from PlayStation, from Sony, and the lead architect, head of design, Mark Cerny, says that it will have 3D audio capabilities in the game. And he says, quote, here, let me find the quote. He says, in referring to 3D audio, he says, it will make you feel more immersed in the game as it sounds. Sorry, let me try that again. It will make you feel more immersed in the game as sounds come at you from above, from behind, and from the side. Now, here, Bathabi, I'll point the question to you here. What is sound in gaming? Like atmospheric sound, is that important in a game? And like, does this 3D sound, does it make a huge difference?
For most games, I'd say maybe, but I think for games that focus maybe on horror elements, and a big aspect of horror elements is focusing on sound. Like they build up fear and suspense with sound.
That's true.
And then in like competitive scenes, like battle royales, I think it's definitely competitive because you're gonna want every edge you can get.
Yeah, you listen to the footsteps of the other.
Yeah, the footsteps, the gunshots, any abilities that they're using, if it makes any sound.
Yeah, and if you're able to just like listen and say, oh, you know what, this footstep is coming from behind me, you know exactly where you could turn around
and go.
And does that make it feel more like real?
Yeah, I think the main point of that is to be more immersive.
And the other thing there too is, I mean, to do something like that, I'm not sure, because you said audio, right?
I don't know 3D audio.
No 3D audio, okay. But I think wouldn't you have to have some sort of 3D audio capability? Like
I mean, they essentially do. That's what stereo is basically sending as much data as it can to both the left and the right of a certain sound source.
Okay.
So with headphones, like when you're playing a video game and you're playing with headphones, they are giving you 3D sound in a sense. It's just not complete because they only have two inputs, left and right.
Yeah.
And yes, you can.
Well, though, I think it's Uncharted.
Like in game. Yeah, like when I play Apex, I can hear where a gunshot is coming from, regardless of. Like if it's behind me, I know where to turn to look for it.
Yeah, and does that add to the game? I mean, sure, it adds to the realisticness of the game. Does it add to like just the quality of the experience too?
I'd say. I mean, if they're making a big deal out of it, then I'd hope it would.
That's true, yeah. If they're making it, and the other big deal that they're making is that is 8K support for streaming.
8K support.
8K support, SSD drive, so that's a solid state drive, so games will load and play faster.
That's just crazy. Yeah, I saw on GameSpot how they said that the normal loading time was about 15 seconds for a game, but now with the PS5 specs, it's like less than a second. The second you load up the game, you're already on the title screen.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, it just gets you the experience faster, in just the basic sense, and the experiences hopefully looks much better if it's 8K. And that's the other thing, though. It's how many people are going to get 8K TVs? Aren't those like $10,000 now?
Exactly. 8K TVs or even like 5G if that's coming in the near future.
Yeah. I mean, you're future proofed, so once those TVs go down in price, like HD TVs, remember how expensive those were, but now you can go buy one at Walmart.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's cool that even a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, the console generations were thought to be done because they can't be updated as quickly as they can, like a PC can, where you can just swap out a component and it's ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
A console, you have to go and you replace the whole thing, but PlayStation and Sony are committed to it, and they're investing heavily, and they're investing in very high technology to go about and just send this out to the world and update the console. So here's my final piece of news. It's actually an announcement, the game announcement. I think you guys have I've told you before with Jedi Fallen Order and with EA.
Yes.
What I want to just we can cover on the Jedi Fallen Order. It's actually a Star Wars game. So if you want to explain, do you guys know more about the game?
Bat, go ahead.
Yeah, go for it, Bat.
I guess the only things that I've seen personally are obviously the reveal trailer, and that it will be a single player only experience, and that EA will not be adding in microtransactions at the launch of the game, at the end of the game, in the middle of the game, 2 weeks after the games come out. Microtransactions are a big no-go. They're completely taking them out. It's been guaranteed. I believe they did do an AMA or an Ask Me Anything on Saturday, or last Saturday, where they did address any questions. And I haven't gotten a chance to look at it yet, but I'm very hopeful to see what EA can do with this one.
Because there are issues with EA and, just...
Of course.
Microtransactions basically acting as a slot machine where you pay real world money in the game on top of what you've already paid the $60 for the game, and you're basically just clicking the slot machine, dropping these loot boxes that just drop random loot that you may or may not want. And what Jedi Fallen Order is, it's a game, it's focused on the Star Wars universe, and it's focused, I think, after the end of episode 3, so all the Jedi are being hunted down, and in this game, you're acting as a Jedi. That's the experience they're trying to push here, and it's a story game, so there's nothing multiplayer about it. It's your own experience, and I think by removing those microtransactions, those loot boxes, multiplayer, it adds to the single player experience and that interactive story that you have by yourself. And I think it's a cool thing to look at, because Star Wars in the movie franchise is a huge franchise.
Huge.
And to see that in gaming, and to see that represented in gaming and in this medium where you're more interactive, much more interactive than the movies, it'll be fun to see where they can go from there. The game is being developed by Respawn Entertainment. They're very famous for making... Well, the people that made Respawn Entertainment, they were on Call of Duty. I think Infinity Ward. They made Call of Duty.
Yes.
And then they left.
Kind of pioneers of the first-person shooter industry.
Yeah. So to see them, they're experts in the industry. They're veterans of the industry. So to see them head a game like that, it'd be awesome to see what they can come up with, a story experience for the Star Wars fan, the geek.
For the geek, yes.
For the geek, yeah. I mean that's what it comes down to. It's for the geek.
Hashtag for the geek.
Hashtag for the geek. I think we have our title of our episode. Yeah. So for now, I mean, it'll be awesome to see. And what I want to do now is just get your final thoughts, your last word. What do you have to say to the people about this topic? How about Bethabia? How about we go first?
About what topic now?
About everything we've talked about. Everything we just talked about.
Round it all up.
Round it all up. What do you think?
Gaming is the future.
Gaming is the future. All right.
I'd say it's the most influential. I'd say it's the most influential form of media we have to date, just because new technology is allowing it to push boundaries.
Yeah, and it's all constantly being developed.
Yeah, constantly being developed.
Bat, what about you?
I could not agree more with Fabi. I think you pretty much nailed it. But I agree 100% that gaming is super influential, because not only do the developers make their games, the consumers actually control, because based on my previous point where we discussed how when you're putting down that $60, you're investing in the company. So when you invest in the company, you expect to get a say in what you just bought. and it's super interesting to see the gamers just influence how the game runs.
Exactly.
It's incredible to me.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, for my final thoughts here, I think it's just rounding up that interactive experience that games provide, that experience that will that lasts and that offers a human connection to the characters, the digital characters that are in the game, and the actual, if you're playing co-op, the guy sitting next to you, your friend, your family, and if you're playing multiplayer online, the people that are across the world that you just love hanging out with, you love having them in your ear, bugging you, making jokes with you. And I think that's the best part of the gaming experience.
Could not agree more.
So I think, that's the best way to wrap up this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. It has been, me, here, Yanni from the Logues. Thank you so much to Daniel Mason, Bruthaby, as I read here, and Bat for helping me out on this first episode. So I hope you enjoy. And I hope we can deliver much more of Game Chat to y'all.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for. Oh yeah. Thank you for being. I thought you were saying thank you for having us to the people, and I was like, oh wait, thank you for having us in your home, in your car,
in your speaker,
in your ear. That's awesome. So again, thank you. Thank you. So we'll be back hopefully soon, and hopefully with more guys here, more of our friends, so we can share the experience and share what we have to say about gaming and the world that we're living in now. So thank you. And that was the first episode of Game Chat. It was a really great time to be able to hang out with my friends and just talk topics. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope we can bring you much, much more of Game Chat with more friends, more laughs, more fun, and more stories to explore. Have a great rest of your day, and please listen on. And that's Game Chat, signing off. Game Chat is a podcast series from the Logues, so if you enjoyed, please like, please follow, and please subscribe anywhere you find podcasts. Go and visit our merch store, live now with a bunch of designs and styles. Listen on YouTube if you'd like a transcription of the episode. And always, always remember to laugh a little.